Renovate or sell as is. The reality for New York City sellers. Before you call a contractor, I need you to have a conversation with your agent first, because the question of whether to renovate before you sell is never a simple yes or no. In Manhattan, it's always case by case. I hear this all the time. Seller calls me already excited, already talking to contractors, new kitchen, new bathrooms, open up the layout. They're convinced the renovation is gonna add significant value and make the apartment fly off the market. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes a targeted, well-executed update makes complete sense. But sometimes I have to slow them down. Not because renovating is wrong, because in this city, the process of renovating, especially in a co-op, is something most sellers are not fully prepared for. And if you don't understand what you're walking into before you start, the time it takes can cost you more than the renovation is ever gonna add. So let me piece the puzzle together on this one. First, let's separate two things that sellers often confuse. There's prepping for sale and there's renovating. They are not the same thing. And understanding the difference is the starting point of every conversation I have with a seller before we list. Prepping for sale is everything that makes the apartment show beautifully without triggering a major construction process. Fresh neutral paint, refinished hardwood floors, updated light fixtures, a deep clean that removes every trace of years of living. These things matter enormously. They change how an apartment photographs, they change how a buyer feels when they walk in, and that can be done relatively quickly, without board approval, without permits, without any of the friction that comes with a real renovation. Renovating is structural, new kitchen, new bathrooms, moving walls, reconfiguring plumbing. The moment you go there, you're in a completely different process. And in a co-op, that process is significant. Let's talk about co-ops specifically, because again, about 70% of Manhattan inventory is co-ops. When you renovate a co-op, you're not the only decision maker. The building is, before anything happens, you need board approval. You need to submit plans to the managing agent. The board has to review them, sometimes with their own architect at your own expense. There are alteration agreement fees, there are deposits, there are requirements around what contractors you can use, what insurance they need to carry, what hours they can work, how they can access the building. A kitchen renovation in this city can run anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 for a solid, well-executed job. The number alone is not the issue. The issue is time. The approval process typically takes weeks. It often does. You revise, submit, and wait for the next board meeting. Boards usually meet once a month. Miss the window and you've added another month before you've swung a single hammer. Then there could be the Department of Building Permits, more weeks. You could easily be 4 to 5 months into the construction process before construction even begins. And here's the part that really changes the calculation for a seller. Many of the premier co-op buildings in Manhattan, particularly in the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, and Long Park Avenue, have what's called a summer work rule. Construction is only permitted between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Now here's the other side of this, because I want to be fair. There are absolutely situations where renovating before you sell makes sense. If the apartment is generally in rough condition and the gap between an unrenovated price and a renovated price is significant, and the work can be done efficiently, it can be the right call. I've seen it work, but every apartment is different, every building is different, and every timeline is different. What I tell sellers is this: before you commit to anything, let's look at the comparable sales in your building and in the area. Let's look at what renovated apartments are actually trading for versus unrenovated ones. Let's look at your specific building rules and what the approval process actually looks like. Then let's make a decision based on your situation, not a general rule. What I can tell you with confidence is that the highest return moves before a listing are always the simplest ones. Neutral paint throughout, refinished floors, a professional staging that makes the space feel aspirational and move-in ready. These things compress your time on the market, improve how the apartment photographs, and makes buyers feel something when they walk in. Staging in particular is something I feel strongly about. A buyer walking in to a beautiful staged apartment is not mentally cataloging everything they need to fix. They're imagining their life there. Their emotional shift is real, and it shows up in offers. The reality of this market is that many buyers, especially at the higher price points, want to choose their own finishes anyway. They have a vision, they have a designer. A brand new kitchen in your taste is not automatically worth the premium to them. So before you spend your time and your money on a major renovation, have the conversation first. Let's look at your specific apartment, your specific building, and your specific timeline, and build a strategy that actually makes sense for you. That is how you get to the finish line without surprises. If you're thinking about selling and you want a clear-eyed assessment of what your apartment actually needs before it goes on the market, comment the word prep below, and I'll send you my pre-listing seller checklist. No guesswork, just the right moves in the right order.